How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today on the pod, we're going to be talking with James Mitchell. He is a world-renowned photographer and videographer for Ironman, known for helping put together the Fighting Chance series by Ironman and just a number of other things. Chances are you've seen many of his photos and work across the triathlon and endurance sport world. Great conversation. Get to talk about the usual stuff, getting to know who he is, what he likes to do, and why he does it. So thank you so much for jumping in on this episode, and thank you, James, for coming on. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to Mr. James Mitchell. I'm doing good, man. How are you doing? Thank you so much for coming on.
You're more than welcome. We're here in Roth, Rut, should I say, Challenge Rut.
Challenge Rut.
House sharing. We have a homestay. A very friendly German lady is our host.
Nice.
We're in the top floor. We're in the attic.
Beautiful.
It's been very, very hot. It's been 36 degrees outside temperature, which has really been heating the attic up during the day.
Oh my goodness.
The aircon doesn't work. I've got like a portable fan next to me. That we've been out and bought. We have one fan for the whole apartment.
Yeah.
We've been out and bought our own personal fans. I'm on the sofa. Kyle's on a bed about 3 meters away from me. Mark has his own room, and I've only just opened the blind to let the light in because it's cooler if we keep the blind shut. So. But it's been good. So far, so good. I came from Ironman Frankfurt last week, the European champs.
Yeah.
I had a photo shoot over in Belgium, so I had to drive over to Belgium, which is
a few hours.
Like 4.5 hours, 5-hour drive. I had a photo shoot with a marathon runner called Bashir Abdi. Came second in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Last year in Paris, and I'm working with his nutrition sponsor, 6D, and then we did the shoot in the afternoon. 2 hours we had with him, and then I drove over to Maastricht in the Netherlands on the Belgian border. Stayed with a friend of mine who's a photographer, Wout, ex-cycling photographer, really good friend of mine now. And then Tuesday morning drove over here, which is like 6 hours more or less. Met up with Mark and Kyle. Ended up on their podcast, Pro Tri News.
Yeah, I saw that. Congratulations.
Night. So yeah, it was fun. So busy times.
Yeah, no kidding. How many days a year do you think that you travel?
Someone asked me this a few weeks ago. I'm gonna say I'm probably away from home 7 or 8 months of the year, I think.
Wow, that's a lot.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm currently on the road now for 4 weeks. I have next week. We road trip from South Germany up to the UK to go to Wales.
Okay.
For the 70.3 Ironman 70.3 Swansea.
Yeah.
And I'm there we'll get there Tuesday, and I'll be there until I'll leave on the Monday following, and I'll go home.
Yeah.
But I'm home and I'm working. I have some photo shoots at home. My home being Lanzarote in the Canary Islands.
Beautiful.
I'm doing going back to my roots, which is photographing a house, a big country house. So back in the day, I started back in 2005.
Doing real
photography. Doing real estate, yeah. I was back in the day. I was into graphic design and web design, and I ended up working with a magazine who, I was actually designing all property advertising.
Okay.
So I got into property photography, and so for a good solid 4 or 5 years, I was basically traveling the Canary Islands, the Balearic Islands, the whole coast of Spain, shooting villas for rent.
Yeah, interesting.
And so an old client of mine messaged me after, I think we shot their house 10 years ago, and they've recently renovated. And they said, can you reshoot the house? Do you still do it? And I'm like, yeah, I can do it. It's no problem. So we've arranged dates. I have a day doing that, and then I have 2 days doing a shooting for a local company called Swim Lab.
Okay.
and they specialize in children with disabilities, and they give them swim classes, swim lessons, and I mean disabilities where they can't walk and they're like using machines to help them adapt to life. And there's two local guys who've set up this business a few years ago. Like I think one of them just won, I forget what award it was, something like CEO of the Year or something like this.
Oh, wow.
For it basically changing kids' lives.
Wow, that's neat.
Through swim lessons, through swim abilities, that kind of thing. So we did a couple of years ago. We shot a week of videos and interviews with parents, that kind of thing. And they've got a setup in the US as well, in Florida, I think it is, where they set up a base there to help kids there, and in the Canaries, and their business has just grown. It's insane.
Yeah.
So we're just doing an update on there, 2 days with the kids and with the staff there, and then I'll be away again. Going to the Alps. Going to. Well, the intention was to go to the Alps, meet up with a friend of mine, John McAvoy, and go and watch some of the tour coming through the Mont Ventoux.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
But I think I've got a meeting with Santora Group next week, which is the management company for Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Eden. And we're talking about shooting some content there in Font-Romeu in south of France, altitude.
Yeah.
But it's a good chance to get some content as well. But it's also good. My girlfriend's also in Font-Romeu. She's training. She's on a camp. She races professionally, Sarah. And so it's a chance to just hook up with her as well and
maybe reconnect on the relationship.
Reconnect on the relationship. I've spent some days with her, shooting the day. She goes training, and then we can, spend some time watching movies and going for dinner during that time as well.
Right on, mate.
And then we're in the are we in the second part of the season now? Maybe the third part of the season, which then is, God, I have to keep looking in my diary for this.
July 3rd. I mean, October's coming around.
What we got? So then, going into the Alps, the Alpe d'Huez Triathlon. That's end of July. T100 London, beginning of August.
Yeah.
Then we'll go to Zellamzee for the 70.3. T100 Valencia, Kona.
Everything.
Yeah, and then the T100 Las Vegas was cancelled. They've rearranged that for Wollongong in Sydney the weekend after Kona. So pitching the idea that I should go there and shoot that.
Yeah. Who are you pitching it to?
So T100. So because of the distance, typically they would use local photographers, but Hawaii is very close to Sydney.
Yeah.
Geographically quite close. And it's not that
halfway.
It's not that expensive to get there. So it's just pitching the idea that I could be on the crew there.
Yeah.
Let's say on the team.
Yeah.
And then back end of the season, 70.3 Worlds in Marbella, T100 Dubai. We've got Qatar as well. So
you're a busy man.
Yeah, well, the season used to be beginning of April through to end of October, which was Kona usually. Yeah. And
you're good.
I'm good. But now, I mean, my season started on January the 6th this year with shoots, and it's just gone on.
Do you think that this is sustainable for you? Like, how long can you sustain such a crazy schedule?
People ask me that, and I put it down to how do you do an Ironman? I mean, I did Ironmans back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, and you build up an endurance for that.
Yeah,
and I think it's the same. I think it's the same with this. You just end up getting used to the travel, the shit sleep, terrible sleep patterns. The downside is we went out running the other day. Mark and Kyle got me out for a bit of a run, and man, I was dying on
I saw the marks
slow pace, breathing out of my arse. It was. The problem is I'm always going back to step one or square one.
Yeah,
I'll get some base fitness in the winter, then the work starts and I'm back to square one. And I'm constantly doing this back to square one, back to square one. So is it sustainable? I hope so.
Yeah.
I think
we'll see. We'll see in a couple of years.
I should have more rest, probably. Yeah. But my girlfriend uses a good line, and like an old phrase, make hay while the sun shines. So I have a mortgage to pay, so I have to keep working, But I love the work.
That you only spend half the year in.
This is true. It's the retirement plan, I think.
Yeah.
But I love what I do, and you travel the world and meet different people and make new relationships and friendships along the way.
Beautiful.
And that's probably one of the best parts of the job.
Yeah, the relationships. So let me ask you this question,
Sure.
because you live and breathe cinematography, photography, film production. If you were to have the opportunity to take one photo, and it be the description of your life and who you are, what kind of a photo would you take if that was all you could give to someone when they say like, well, who is James? And then you hand them this picture and that's all that they're able to use.
Who is James? Have you seen? There's a meme actually. It must be. It's an AI thing of this cameraman just carrying. He's got like 50 cameras on his back, and he's just carrying these 50 cameras.
Yeah.
Probably that at the moment. I'm just constantly just carrying bags and weight and cameras and gear and shift. Going from one spot to the other. Yeah. So it's probably me just loaded up with gear. Just a photo in the airport, 6 bags, all the cameras, and a compass. Where am I going?
Compass. Figure out where you're going.
That's
so then
probably...
Go on. Sorry. I was just going to ask you, so from your perspective then, even outside of this profession, because your identity right now is all encompassed by the contracts and the content that you're shooting. But from your perspective, who would you say that James is?
Who would you say? Could you ask the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. So, from your perspective, who is James?
Oh, that's a hard question. Can I come back to that one? Can I play or pass? Who is James?
You can take as long as you want to think about it too. I can ask another question.
Can I phone a friend? Can I ask?
Sure.
Kyle.
What's up?
Seth just asked, from my perspective now, who is James? But who is James? How do you see James?
Best photographer in triathlon.
Someone who quoted that? Oh yeah, it was someone at Challenge. Best photographer in triathlon.
That's what Mark Dubrick told me yesterday when I told him I was going to be interviewing you.
Oh really?
It's the guy that snores.
The guy that snores next to me?
Apparently I snore, but it's like a pussycat, really.
Face that everyone knows? Racist?
Yeah, people. I think I'm personable, friendly, get on with a lot of people. I'm very I try to remain impartial. I work with a lot of athletes, a lot of brands. One of the important things about being a photographer, and it's not having the best cameras and the best lenses and the best equipment per se, it's having good relationships. And I get questions actually. I had one on Instagram the other day, and I was just in the expo in Challenge Rough there, and a guy from the UK came up, and it's nice when people come up and say, "Oh, I love your work. I follow you on Instagram," and you can chat with them for 5 or 10 minutes, and usually they're avid photographers themselves, and one of the questions they would ask typically would be, how do you get into it? What do you need to get into sports photography or shooting triathlon? And there's a lot of I spent years spending my own money, going to races, buying my flights, renting a car, booking a hotel room, and investing in my business, my own business. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Even to this day, right now, for the last 4 years, I've been contracted with Ironman to shoot video and produce a video series called The Fighting Chance, along with my colleague Will from Finland. And that's been like a nice steady flow. People are starting to like know the Fighting Chance series and watch the videos. But then on the other side, I'm working with like brands and other events where I shoot stills photography. And over the years, it's building those relationships to be asked back to go and shoot the stills photography. But there's lots of times where I go to events and they don't know me from Adam. Like there's some events where I go and maybe I'll not get paid at all by the event organizer, but what I will get paid or try and get paid by is the athletes or the brands, the sponsors that are related to the athletes. And sometimes then you might have a brand come in and say, oh, I've not got a budget. Okay, that's fine. Well, let's see what we can do and work to what budget you have. Or let's talk about the future. And maybe the following year they come back. Maybe they never come back at all. But you're just constantly investing your time and money into future. I think you have to look at the long-term game for a lot of things. It's not always that instant reward of money. Like there's actually my girlfriend, she messaged me earlier this afternoon and she bumped into an athlete in Font-Romeu, and she said she bumped into this athlete who was doing Xterra. And he said, oh, James always has the best photos and I want them, but I can't afford him. People are under this assumption, because I'm working with brands and other athletes, that I'm expensive or they can't. Nobody asks, oh, how much would it be? Or is this something you can do? And there's not always an immediate financial reward from it. You know, based in Lanzarote, we get athletes coming in January and February in training camps. You know, like with Kat Matthews, I'll shoot her stuff for a few of her brands, like Raw Nutrition, for example. And they're after a specific amount of content and a brief they want to work to. And I think they're making a documentary at the moment, and you know, and that's paid for content. But then I've got friends who are out there who don't have all the sponsors, or they've got very little sponsorship, and you know, I've got a free morning or a free afternoon. I'm like, oh, what are you doing later? Oh, we're going out for a run. Well, can I come and shoot? I'll come and shoot some content for you. Oh, well, you know, what's it going to cost? It's not going to cost anything. Like, I want to go out and shoot this year. I want to enjoy it. I'm building a relationship with these athletes. I'm keeping myself sharp. You know, you still have to go and, let's just say, well, I've been photographing now for 20 plus years, but I still want to go out and shoot. I want to try different techniques or try a new lens, or maybe I've seen something on Instagram that I'm like, oh, I kind of like that idea. I wonder if I could try it, but maybe with a slightly different take on it. So you're just going out and trying things. In my head, I've got my repertoire, so to speak. But I don't just go out, stand on my feet and shoot. I've got different ways of getting around, getting into different places. I bought a motorbike this year, so I've got a rig that attaches to the back of the motorbike, so I can film and shoot stills from the moto by myself. I don't even have to touch. Well, it's controlled with the phone in the cockpit. I can basically track the athlete behind me just by touching the screen on the phone, and it tracks. All I have to do is just ride with them. And with and then I use a gyro wheel. Have you seen the gyro wheel we use
to like stand on?
Yeah, so it's actually called an EUC, an electric unicycle.
Yeah, I've seen them.
And these things can reach up to some good speeds. But the beautiful thing is you're as big as a person on the course. You're not a motorbike. You're not a mountain bike. You're not that kind of thing. You're as big as a person, as wide as a person. And just 1 second. We've got some beers.
One in the freezer for you, so it's cold.
Oh, Lejeune. See, when Mark Matthews is off screen as well, he's getting the beers in.
Taking care of you, huh?
good old German Gelabia.
There you go.
And so, so I use the gyro wheel for mainly shooting when people are running, just easier to get around. Motorbike. And then, I've got my own electric mountain bike, which helps me get around as well. So there's different ways and means of getting out there and just shooting different content. So yeah, I digress. I think.
Yeah. No, it's good. You gave a good roundabout view of what you do, who you are, and when people want to get into this type of a thing, that it takes investment. But let me ask you some more backstory questions. Where are you from?
So I was born and raised in what's known as the north of England, a place called Chesterfield. We're not in the north, we're Midlands, but there's this north-south, I don't know if you know the north-south divide in the UK.
I've seen that on a map.
Or heard of it. So I'm classed as a northern boy, that's for sure. But from Chesterfield. Same name as the cigarette, same name as the sofa, but no relation to either. Our only claim to fame is we have a big church in the middle of town with a bent steeple. It's called the Crooked Spire. That's the nickname for it, the Crooked Spire.
Was it?
Not on purpose, no. It was the structure of the spire is made out of wood, and then the outside of it is lead. I think it's lead slates.
Oh wow!
And the weight of the lead has basically twisted the spire. So it's called, the nickname for it is the Crooked Spire.
Sounds dangerous.
Well, it's been there, I think, since the 1700s, something like that. It's probably older than America itself.
Yeah, that's wild. So growing up in Chesterfield, was it just you? Did you have siblings?
I have a sister younger than me, 2 years younger than me. Just me and her. Grew up in Chesterfield. And then moved to Lanzarote with my girlfriend at the time when I was 28. I'm now 51.
Yeah. Wow.
So
So you spent a long time in Chesterfield then.
So I studied marketing actually. I left school. I did terrible at school. I hated school. Never wanted to be there. Every opportunity, I was, I'd go to registration and I'd run out of school. I'd go and see my girlfriend who'd moved to another town, like 40 miles away. Got in terrible trouble. I think I still have actually my school reports, my bad school reports.
My mom has mine.
I was so terrible. I was so bad at school, not just academically, but I just hated it. I apologized to my parents when I was in my 20s.
Really?
They went
How
through
did they
hell.
take that?
I can't remember actually.
Did
Probably.
you? Yeah, sorry.
Go on.
I was gonna say, did you apologize because you noticed in them there was a level of disappointment, or was more of the disappointment coming from yourself, where you felt like, I didn't live up to an expectation?
Definitely for myself. And where we lived, when we got to, I think it was 12 or 13. So we went to higher school, and I had 2 years at this mixed comprehensive school. And you had the opportunity to stay in this mixed school, or you could, it was sold to me as a bit of an upgrade, I went to an all boys school, or the girls could go to an all girls school, a grammar school. And then from there, you could then, if you did well, you could then go into what was classed as sixth form, do your A levels, and then ultimately go on to university. It was in Chesterfield, it was classed as a higher education school. You strict uniforms, that kind of thing. But I think that was probably the biggest mistake of my life. Sorry. My girlfriend's just trying to call me.
That's okay.
Sorry, got distracted there. So it was a mistake in terms educationally. It was a mistake. I mean, I made some friendships for life from that, but God, I just hated being there. And it wasn't until I left school, realised what a bum I was, and I think I was just a late developer. Not everyone wants to learn from the ages of this to this. I think some people develop a bit later. I mean, some kids in school are like super early developers, super clever. Well, I was a little bit more later down the line. And it wasn't until my late teens, early 20s, I wanted to go and study. And I studied marketing. And I went back to college and I studied marketing and I loved it. And actually, that's a lie. The first year I didn't love. We were educated by a professor an older guy. He was out of the textbook. It was like boring as batshit. And I didn't think I'd go back for the second year, and I did. And the second year, we were taught by a guy called David James. We ended up being friends for quite a few years after I finished college, and he was actually working for. He was a marketing director for a group of event arenas, big arenas that had concerts, ice hockey, basketball. Like he was delivering his courses from experience, and that was it. I perked up, and this guy, he was super interesting, super informative, and I just wanted to succeed and make him happy, so to speak.
Make him proud.
Make him proud, and we became friends after that. And actually, I've not spoken to him for quite a few years now, but for several years after that, we were friends. And I ended up in a marketing job. I applied for a job with another friend was a general manager, and it was a national car leasing company. And I was 6 months into this job when my girlfriend said, "I want to move to Lanzarote." So, backstory to that is, her mum had moved to Lanzarote 4 or 5 years prior to that, and we used to go and visit 3 or 4 times a year. Take a week off work, we go to Lanzarote, and eventually she just said, "I just want to go." Yeah. And I said, "Well, yeah, but I've just got this new job," and she said, "Well, you don't have to come." And I was like, FOMO, serious FOMO.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll go and try it, and if I don't like it, I'll come back.
Yeah.
But then I think we were together ultimately about 8 years, and then the last 3 of those were in Lanzarote. Our lives changed direction. Her and her sister moved to Lanzarote. They had a business in England. They sold the business. They bought a villa to rent with the proceeds of that, and kind of had a business. I took up my hobbies, which was, going back to the original story, was graphic design, web design, and trying to create a business.
Yeah.
And so I didn't understand at the time. Before I was in a 9-to-5 job. Now I was in a freelance job. Well, I was trying to create a freelance job, but I didn't really know, do I turn my computer off at 5?
Yeah.
No, you don't. You're a freelancer. You work till
the work's done.
Till the work's done, or the clients had got what they wanted, that kind of thing. And it was a new thing for all of us, and it caused a rift in our relationship. And eventually, we separated, and I moved on. And I distinctly remember calling my mum at the time saying, me and my girlfriend have separated. And she's like, "Oh, so you're coming back to England?" No, why would I do that?
Missing you.
Yeah, so I've not moved back to England. That was, I've been there 23 years. 23 years, beginning of this August, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff.
It is. Do you know, not many Americans know where Lanzarote is. Do you know geographically where it is?
Somewhere over to the east. I don't really. I mean, I've looked at it up on a map a few times just because of isn't Club La Santa in Lanzarote?
It is.
Yeah. So, and I've seen that obviously just through different PR from different professional athletes. But if you were to ask me to point it out, I would point over in Europe somewhere. But it's like where it seems like when it looks like pictures and videos, I'm like, oh, that's off the coast of North Africa or somewhere, and that's what it looks like to me. But I couldn't truly point to where it is.
You're 100% correct. We are more African than we are Spanish. We're Spanish territory.
Yeah.
But we are more African. We're closer to Africa. We're actually, I think, about 70 kilometers off the Western Sahara. Okay. It takes me to fly to Madrid is 2.5 hours, like 2,000 k's away off something like this.
Yeah.
We're
It's not
quite
bad.
far away. So we're close to the African continent, Morocco,
Yeah.
but Spanish territory.
Yeah.
And,
Beautiful area. I'd love to go there sometime.
It's great. The Canaries, there's 8 of them, 8 islands, and they vary drastically in weather and climate, and then you've got Gran Canaria and Tenerife. Tenerife is the highest peak in Spain, Mount Teide. Has snow on it, even in the Canaries. Lots of professional
Athletes.
cycling teams. Don't know if they go there anymore, but they used to go there. It's good for altitude training there. And Gran Canaria, green, lots of climbs, incredible climbing. If you love cycling, the Canaries are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you some personal questions?
Yeah, go. Sure.
So you mentioned earlier when you're going into your second year, you decided to focus in and go and continue on the marketing path, and you met this guy. I forget his name. What was his name?
It's called David. David James, actually. Yeah.
David James. Yeah, I almost said James. So David James, and you said like you wanted to make him proud. So when I dig into that a little bit, I'm wondering what there was obviously like something inside of you that wanted to make someone else proud. So let me ask you this question. Did you feel like you found fulfillment in what you were doing prior to that in a way that you felt like your father was proud of what you were doing?
I guess so. I think with my father worked away a lot when we were kids. I don't think I ever made him proud, that's for sure. So I I remember playing junior football, and I think my dad was like I think he was manager, or he was very involved in the junior football. So as a kid, I was like, always wanted to be the best and, get accolades from my dad. But growing up, I think I removed myself from family reality when I was going back to being a terrible teen. I was a terrible teen. I think it was like a case of didn't even like authority, be that from a teacher or a parent.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I look back at that now, to the point actually where I did actually go and see a child psychologist. It was that bad that my parents booked me in. I vaguely remember my mum being in tears, and I think me stating I hated my parents or something like that. I think actually in this file I've got with the bad school reports, I think there is something with this in it. Now, back in the day, modern day, to this day, I think it's called ADHD. I was constantly on the move and that kind of thing. Back in the day, there was no such thing as ADHD. It was just you naughty little bastard. So that was the difference. Yeah. Now it's recognised and people can treat that in whatever way they can. So yeah.
What do you think you needed when you were that age that may have, I guess, given you what you needed to maybe calm down a bit? So I asked this a little tongue in cheek because you're describing a lot of how I grew up.
Really?
In terms of, just hated school, could never sit down, I just didn't see the point in learning all these things that I felt like I was never going to use. From a young age, I was somewhat entrepreneurial, so I was always trying to make something and sell something. But yeah, it was totally similar. So I'm asking to try to understand, because I know now retrospectively kind of what I think I needed, but what did you think that you needed to like make you feel, I guess, at peace or calm?
I don't know. I have actually thought about this, and I'm not sure. I look at kids these days, like for instance, growing up in Lanzarote. Sorry, friends of mine who are similar age, who've got kids who've grown up in Lanza. I've known some of them since they were little kids, and now they're in their early 20s. and what they have in Lanzarote as opposed to being in the UK. I think there's more things to do in terms of. Okay, I did go to football as a kid, but generally, it gets dark early, and there's you just want to hang out with your mates on the street, and I don't know, it just seemed in Chesterfield anyway. I thought I found it a little bit boring. Maybe I think we were just bored, and we found the only way to get out of our boredom was to go and throw stones at windows and smoke on park benches, that kind of thing. Whereas the kids in Lanzarote, man, they like surfing. They're doing triathlon like that at such a young age. They're getting into sport. They don't know. There's nothing really else to distract them. It's kind of weird. So I guess I'd love to rewind the time back and grow up in another place.
Just to see.
Just to see if that would have been different. I think it would have.
Yeah.
The environment is completely different. It's not toxic at all. Well, it doesn't come across as toxic.
Yeah.
On the islands, there's very little crime. You're constantly bombarded with things like that in the UK news, I think. Kids running amok, kids stealing phones, and then obviously over on the other side of the pond, these kids with guns and so on and so forth. It's it's just a different lifestyle. You grow up on an island, you got a surfboard and a beach, and you do that after school. Most kids go to the beach or the swimming pool or completely different lifestyle. So it would have been interesting to see if that had made a difference.
How it would have affected you. How's your relationship with your dad today? Would you say that he's proud of you for what you're doing?
I think he is. I used to compete in triathlon. I did a few Ironmans back in the day, and he came over to Lanzarote. I did Ironman Lanzarote a few times, and he came over one year, and he went out on the run course and got a few little video clips of me running. And
cool.
so every year that comes up on his Facebook as a memory, and he always sends it me saying, that was so good. I loved it. Actually, because when he came over, this was 2000 and this would have been 2000 and maybe 13, 14, 15 maybe.
Okay.
And at the time I had a big Labradoodle. And actually I stayed at my girlfriend's, and my dad stayed in my apartment with my dog and his wife. And he'd go out walking the dog. I think they stayed for a couple of weeks, but he'd go out every day walking the dog. He lost weight. He got more energy. He felt good about himself. He came down to watch me compete in triathlon. He posts it every year. However, he voted for Brexit. So I will never forgive him for that.
Yeah.
So he voted Brexit. During that time, I don't think we spoke for a few years.
Wow, it was that divisive, huh?
Yeah. Because, I'm not going to the political side of things, but...
You can if you want.
No, I'm good. Otherwise, it's all right. But we're all right now. But it's still... Brexit's still a bad thing as it is, so...
Yeah.
But we didn't speak for a few years, and now, we're okay. We're good. I'll go and see him. He keeps himself to himself with his wife, and my parents, they divorced when I was in my early 20s, and then they got married again to other people, and he's good. Likes to go and watch his football, the beloved Chesterfield football club.
The football club.
But all is good with my parents. I wouldn't say we're a particularly close family. I'll probably talk to my sister more. When I go to the UK, I'll go and stay with my sister. I found my sister's going to come over to Lanzarote and stay with us at Christmas. So yeah.
Family's complicated.
Tell me. Like my girlfriend, she can talk to her parents on a daily basis for an hour, 2 hours. I'm like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
But the nice thing is her parents come over to us at Christmas. They escape the Canadian. She's Canadian, so they escape the Canadian winters. Come over for 3 months, and Our mum goes off walking. I think last time she came over, she clocked to like nearly 500k just in walking every day. Her dad goes out gravel riding or mountain biking. They just love it. We have the barbecue on every night. Her dad's a geologist, so he works down in Africa. So they've always got a braai going. So I think that when they first came over, the first thing he did was go and buy a braai so we can cook some steaks, you know.
Yeah.
So I am very close to their family, and they're great to hang out with and spend time with, and yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. When I married my wife, we've been married 8 years in June, and her family has become, especially in the beginning, first few years of our dating and marriage, her family became like my family because I came from a pretty broken family. Dad passed away when I was young, estranged kind of mother and younger sisters just from how we all grew up and whatnot. But it took me spending some time with her and her family to kind of get some of the dynamic changes and understanding what a semi-functional family looks like to kind of be able to come back around. And my wife said something to me, because I didn't want to spend any time with my family at all. And she said, if you do spend time with your family, you have to do it with the mindset that you probably won't get fulfilled in the beginning, but you have to kind of invest in it. And man, it took me years to get to a place to where, because a lot of the stuff that my family would do and say would just be so incredibly just friction, like just it would rub me raw, or the way that they operated or whatnot. And it's interesting when we go back with our families, like for me, a lot of my old habits that I like really worked on changing, like suddenly rise up from the murk, and then there I am kind of jumping in on the squabbles and stuff. It's just interesting, the family dynamic, but it takes time to.
It's funny you should say that. My dad, he probably don't realise he does it, but he winds me up. Be on a call, and he'll just pronounce things wrong. I'm like, you've like place names in Lanzarote that he's seen and heard before, and I'm sure he's trying to trigger me, and I just have to make an excuse and end the call. It's funny, yeah. He does wind. Of course, I love them all to bits, but yeah, he does wind me up. Yeah,
it's interesting. So, take me through the steps of you finding this passion for photography and videography, because obviously you moved into marketing. And then you said you started to really invest a lot of time and energy on going to the places, buying the equipment yourself, rental car, hotel. Obviously, you have to put yourself out there before you have a name, and then you build those relationships. What in the beginning days when you weren't really having a positive return, what was it that was keeping you going? Like, what were you searching for and looking for?
I think I like to go. Well, actually, with the magazine, we used to go to a lot of events, and that not just sports events, but the opening of an art gallery and all types of social events. But we're in Spain. I didn't speak Spanish back in the day, and so what the camera gave me was an icebreaker. It gave me a little bit of a barrier as well between someone Spanish who I couldn't actually physically talk with, but could mumble a few words like, "Oh, quieres una foto?" And we'll do like. But I couldn't have a conversation. I didn't have enough Spanish language. So the camera was a great kind of say hello, have a little bit of a laugh because I didn't understand anything, and then move on. And people would then see you at these events, and then eventually pick up a bit of Spanish, and then you could start having conversations. But you would never go in blind. You never. It's so difficult and awkward to go to a party, you don't speak Spanish, and try and make conversation. You just don't make conversation with anyone because you can't make conversation. That's the difficult thing. So the camera was this barrier.
Transmedium.
Transmedium is a good way of putting it. It was something that got me in front of people's faces and got to know me. And then I'd just go to different sports events, and then a friend of mine got me into weddings. God, I refused to do weddings. He's like, mate. He was going from video. He was quitting photography to go into videography.
Mm-hmm.
About 2008, this was. God, he begged and begged. I need a photographer. I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to fuck the wedding up. And he's like, I'll mentor you. Mate, it was so embarrassing. And I did it. And literally the next wedding I had, I was working for an agency. And he's like, whew. And I was like, look, I just started researching wedding photography and so on and so on. And I ended up, it being quite lucrative, and I ended up quite enjoying it. But then you get good weddings and you get bad weddings. The Irish were always, it could be a real good laugh or an absolute like shit show. Like the Irish would typically drink the bar dry in the hotel, and then they'd be down to the bottle shop to go and get like crates of Budweiser and have them under the table.
Oh my goodness.
They'd get messy. But then as I got more into triathlon, so my first triathlon I photographed was Ironman Lanzarote, and that was through the magazine. And they said, "Oh, we need some photos of Ironman Lanzarote." Like I didn't even know what it was. And I remember getting a T-shirt with media on it. It was like, "Whoa, I'm coming back next year if you get these." I had no idea. I was stood by the finishing line for 6 hours waiting for them to come back off the bike. I had no idea they'd be gone so long.
Yeah.
And then, so that was 2005. By 2010, I was the official photographer. Of course, I knew a lot more than I did in 2010 than I did in 2005. But
Got that network, yeah.
And I've been the official photographer of Ironman Lanzarote until now. Well, I competed 13, 14 and 15, and then I went back to the photography. And the only one I've ever missed was this year because it clashed with another event, clashed with an Ironman Pro Series event. So that was the first one in 20 years.
Yeah.
Forgot where I was going with this one, but...
Well, I was asking you, like, as you started to get into it, what was the thing that pushed you to invest a lot of your own time and energy?
Yeah. I think the passion was marketing. I always like and the analogy I use is like fishing. You know, you throw like whatever out there, be it publicity, be it your sales patty, your network or whatever, and seeing what you could pull in. And I think it was just going back and trying to see what like business I could shoot for and grab, and then I'd see more. And then, oh yeah, I know where I was going with this was weddings. People would typically book a wedding a year or two in advance. Actually, I was going to say to Mark, Meg Matthews was interested in wedding photography.
Meg McDonald.
Meg McDonald. I was saying Meg Matthews. I do. Meg McDonald. Meg McDonald, who's a friend of Kat and Mark. She got engaged at just after T100 Vancouver. She was inquiring about wedding photography. Said, I actually don't do wedding photography, only for professional athletes. So you're in luck. Yeah. Because professional athletes, or athletes, I suppose, in general, would typically get married out of season in the winter.
So you'd have
because what happened before was I was booking weddings like in June and July, and then a year later, figuring out that
it's not going to fit Ironman.
It clashed with an event I wanted to go to. I was like, right, enough of the wedding stuff. So,
yeah, interesting. So as you've gone through and you've made a name for yourself, do you believe that you're a good photographer and videographer now? Do you have that confidence?
Everyone says so. Even Kyle was just saying I'm the best photographer in triathlon. Right, Kyle? Have I got your endorsement?
Yeah, and you know who my best friend is? Guy who shoots on auto.
Oh yeah, and Kyle's best friend is Talbot. You know, he shoots on auto all the time. Confident. Yes, confidence, and I think I was talking to today. It's about getting a good job done quickly and efficiently. I mean, I'll do some shoots, and some people or clients will say, "Oh, is that it? What more do you want?" I mean, I've spent 20 years perfecting
knowing
or
what to do.
knowing what to do quickly and efficient, especially with athletes. You know, some athletes, some photographers, I think, or even maybe video people or video guys, will drag on the shoot. I don't know whether that's to,
Make them think that they're putting in more effort.
yeah. But the downside to that is, and this has happened before, is, okay, so that shoot only took you, we booked you for a day, but the shoot only took half a day. So we only have to pay you half a day, right? Well, it's took me 20 years to work out how to shoot it in half a day. I mean, so I'm getting penalised for being good. There's a real good podcast called, this guy called Chris Dio. Do you know him? He has, it's called The Future, Futur, without the E at the end. And he actually does a podcast on, he's a graphic designer.
I have seen this bit.
Everything is around graphic design, but actually it works towards like the freelance artist, let's say. So if you're, like I used it with photography in mind, and he uses that analogy, you know. So if my shoot only takes 2 hours, you want to pay me less, so I'm getting penalised for being better than the other guy. That doesn't work out. So there's really good ways he looks at the freelance business, and how to charge your clients going forward in that sense.
Interesting. So as you are moving through this year, like you were saying that you were moving around physically a lot. You have a lot of different events coming up, like you're going from here to there. With that in mind, what is taking up the most mental bandwidth for you that you're thinking about?
Oh God, accounts. Hate them. I forget like how long I'm on the road, and it seems every 5 minutes my accountant's messaging for the next set of the month's invoices and that kind of thing.
Accounts. Okay,
Accounts,
like accounting. Yeah.
Accounting.
Okay, I follow.
That is the mental
drag.
thing. Oh yeah. Like I every month I say to myself, right, I'll put my expenses into my program. I'll send the invoices out on time. Do I? Never. And then it just piles up, and then I get stressed about it, and then I push it to one side, and then that's that's more the mental bandwidth for me.
Yeah. Do you have somebody that you partner with who kind of helps you manage all those things?
No, my girlfriend's occasionally says she can help out, but she's busy doing her own things. There's no point. So,
would you benefit from having help?
Probably. Even on socials, can't be bothered to. I just give photos to athletes and get them to tag me in so I can just share it or collab.
Yeah.
I think that my time when I'm not shooting is best spent chilling.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, with your travel schedule and the lack of sleep, what is the one thing, I would wager that the one thing you could probably do to increase your creativity, increase your longevity would probably be to figure out how to get more sleep. But I imagine jumping across time zones so constantly is such a struggle.
Melatonin's probably a good one.
Yeah.
I like my natural, if I was at home, my natural sleep would be 7 hours, 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
And then when I think I went to sleep last night, although I'm on a sofa bed, it's boiling hot in here. I think I'm doing probably 5 or 6.
I'm glad you can get that much. When it's hot, I can't sleep at all. I have to have the temperature at least 67, whatever that is. And
it's not too, actually, so it's gone a bit cooler the last couple of nights, but yeah, we've got, like I say, we've got fans whirring around. But I'll put earplugs in just to cut out that noise. But I think 6 hours is quite good for me, I think.
Yeah.
7's a bonus.
Yeah. Are you where you want to be professionally?
No.
Where do you want to be?
I still think there's more. I love doing the events. I love doing the live stuff. I'd like to get more into probably more portrait stuff, more studio stuff with big names.
What does that look like practically when you say portrait stuff? Just like, yeah.
It could be. Well, I was. I'll name drop here. I was in teens in France, altitude with Remco Evenepoel, who's one of the biggest in cycling, and just being around, not just him, but like the whole
That ecosystem.
the whole vibe around that. But having said that, that's in cycling, and a friend of mine came out of cycling photography because it's so political
Anal.
between the, yeah, basically, especially with all the other photographers. But I still think there's places to go. I think there's other ideas, maybe in publishing as well, magazines, making beautiful magazines with photography, and I even looked at sports management at one point. Know quite a lot of athletes, know a lot of brands, but I think that's probably more of a retirement thing. I think,
Yeah.
maybe when
Are
I'm
you-
when I'm tired of traveling so
yeah, I was
much.
going to say, are you ready for that yet? Like retirement?
Um,
I don't think you ever
No,
retire.
no.
Yeah.
I'll be working till I'm 70, 80
Yeah.
for sure. I enjoy the travel. I enjoy, like, going back to what I said earlier, was going to places and meeting different people and opening up relationships. You never know. Like, it's probably like this with the guys here, with Mark and Kyle. You know, you could travel the world, and you'll know someone in each corner. You could probably call upon somebody, and they'll have a sofa for you to lie on for the night. You could travel anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just nice knowing people. And you come to the events, and you see people who are in the sport, and you might not have seen them for 6 months, but you just drop into a conversation, and it's just nice. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the travel. The thing, what we say in Lanzarote is, when you're living on essentially a volcanic island in the middle of the Atlantic, you get island fever. You need to get off, and even if it's just to visit another island, but you just need to get off and go places. So I think this is quite good for moving around a bit. Is relatively good mentally, probably also good from a relationship, because then we're away, then we come back together. We just used to
makes
that.
the heart grow fonder.
Exactly. And some people can't deal with that. They need to be with their partner all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sarah, she goes off training. Actually, she says she hates it when I'm away, and when we're together, she says, "Oh, I wish you were away." Well, but you wanted me to be here. She says, "Well, okay, I like it when you're downstairs in your office, when I know you're around, but you're not here," type of thing. So,
Oh my goodness.
it's just knowing that the presence is there. You come, you sleep in the same bed at night, and but you're around each other during the day. Not necessarily, you're not shoulder to shoulder. You don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do. Some people can't deal with long-term. Say long distance. I suppose it's like a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
We'll speak together like on WhatsApp in the morning, in the evening, maybe a couple of times in the day.
Yeah.
See how things are going.
Do you think that you'd ever want to get married?
We speak about it. She says, I don't know if she says she's ready or not, but I mean, do you need to? I mean, you're happy? You're happy in a relationship? Is there a point to that? Spend a lot of money for your friends to get pissed up?
Maybe just don't have alcohol at your wedding.
That's a good point. Or food.
Or food.
On a beach.
Yeah.
Cousin
Yeah.
No, sounds like I'm tight. I don't. What?
Who is James? He's a tight bugger.
Could you hear that?
I
So
didn't
who-
hear
who-
exactly what he said.
Mark says, "Who is James? He's a tight bugger."
He's a
Mark,
tight
Mark
bugger.
always says, "Mark always says I never get the beers in," but
It's interesting.
complete lie.
Yeah. So you're not where you want to be yet. You want to be, you want to be more creative. It sounds like you want to maybe have more under your control. Like you're talking about sports management agency, potentially a magazine. The creative outlets seem to be what
Well, the
truly
sports
inspires
agency
you.
thing was more down. I've got all these contacts throughout the years. It's like utilising them a bit more.
Yeah. Your network is your net worth. That's for sure.
Pulling people in together to work together and that kind of thing. But the one thing, I did speak to one manager once, and they said, well, once you start doing contract deals with people who you think you're friends with, it becomes less friendly.
Yeah. It starts to
And
become
that's-
numbers.
Yeah. And, I know a few managers, and there's a couple in particular that not naming names here, but they're not the easiest to work with.
Mm. Yeah.
And then you just start to think, maybe management's not the thing for me, you know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens. You never know what's around the next corner.
Yeah, you never know. Opportunity is always available. You know, like you said, when you keep casting and see what you can pull in. There's lots of opportunity. That's what I found. The more that I've done this podcast alone, 160 episodes in, you meet a lot of people and you can see, or at least from my perspective, I can see there's so much opportunity, but knowing which one of those things to just keep simmering on the back burner for even years at a time, just because there is opportunity doesn't mean you should go after it at that moment.
No, totally. Actually, I was just thinking then, I was telling this to a friend the other day. I said, every December I'll take time off. First couple of weeks of December, usually time off. This year, not, because there's a couple of races still. But by the end of December, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm looking at jobs on LinkedIn. But I always say I'm unemployable because doing a 9 to 5, I'm not sure I could do. Mm-hmm. But I'm on LinkedIn. What is there? What could I do? Oh, look, Red Bull's recruiting. 100 plus people have already applied for that one. Could I do these jobs? Could I be doing these like set times? My times are all over the place at the moment, and I don't mind it. I don't even know when the weekends are. I mean, I keep looking, watch today, thinking it's Friday. It's not. It's Thursday. And you never know what's what everything merges in. Everything merges into one. No, I'm not living for the weekend.
Yeah.
It's just living the dream, I guess, just like traveling, doing a bit of work, one day chilling. But yeah, always looking on LinkedIn for jobs, and then beginning of January starts, and then touch wood, people start calling and emailing. And beginning of the year, lots of athletes have got new sponsors and so on and so forth, new kits. They need new fresh kit. So it just starts again, and then the panic's over again. Yeah, that's how it goes. That's my mindset.
Yeah. So this next statement / question, there's a good bit of assumption built into it, but it's because what you're explaining to me specifically about the LinkedIn thing is something that I have done quite a bit in the past. I find it very intriguing to look for jobs. Again, I'm not a very employable person. The past 5, 6, going on 7 years of work I've done has been contract basis, where I can basically say, well, at any time I can quit this, or I can go and find something else from some other line of, bringing in cash. But for me, when I go onto LinkedIn, like I have been looking for, like, I feel like I'm trying to find this one thing or one person to give this one opportunity that for whatever reason I feel like would just fit me perfectly, to where I would feel like, oh, well, you tell me what to do and I'll do it to the best of my ability. And I've 100%. since tried to change that, because and I'm not saying this is the same for you, but it's more of just a statement that I'd love to hear your feedback on. I've since changed that because I realized, for me, what I was really looking to do, particularly because I lost my dad when I was 16, I was looking for, like, specifically a male figure that I really look up to, that I want to impress, that they tell me exactly what to do and I'll go do it, because I like the feeling of when someone looks at me and is like, oh yeah, good job, like you did exactly what I wanted, type of a thing.
Mate, I am 100% with you on that. I am exactly the same.
Yeah.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 32.
Oh, are you a pup?
Yeah, I'm so young.
It's interesting you said that. I get that. I get a good feeling of helping people more and getting good feedback from it, no matter what. Yeah, it's interesting you said that.
Then let me say this to you, because and again, I'm going to go out on a limb here, so this limb might break. But what I have learned through some really awesome people who have invested themselves into me was through that process of, like, searching for that one thing. I have learned that my value, the values that I hold, whatever it is, I'm starting a business or doing some contract work, whenever I separate myself from those things, the values that I still hold there are still very core to who I am. And I've realized that if I keep going out to, like, try to impress that one person or whatever, it left me feeling empty for so long. And I'm starting to finally get to a place where I find contentment in just knowing that as long as I keep doing things for people and like selflessly trying to do those things to offer value, then like my own internal clock can be turned away from just this constant pursuit of like, I want the next mountaintop. And I'm not saying you're necessarily doing that, but we seem somewhat similar. You obviously have a lot more life experience than me, but I just want to affirm with what you're doing is awesome. I don't know you super well, but I've gotten to know you enough over the past hour to see that we have enough similarities that hopefully I can go out on this limb and say like, what you're doing is really good, and you should be really proud of that. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I think, yeah, with how you said that last statement was, yeah, exactly how I feel. It's kind of weird. Like, actually, it's good. More recently, so I'll just go talk about the video content I'm shooting for Ironman. I got brought on by, I suppose, my boss there, Steve Godwin, who I'd only met a couple of times in Kona. And in 2021, he called me out of the blue. I mean, I didn't really know him from Adam, to be fair. And he called me and he's like, "Oh, you know, we're starting this new video series. Would you like to produce it in Europe?" I said, "Well, I don't shoot video, but you know, you can." I said, "You know, you'll learn that, but like, we just want you to produce it." It was more my Rolodex of athletes, I think, that I had contact with that would help build the series. He said, "You need another guy to come and help you." And I'd actually worked with this one guy called Will on one job. He lived in Finland. Asked him if he wanted to come and help me, and he did. And it's been great. He's been editing and filming with me, and then 4 years, great. And then back end of last year, Will actually got offered a contract from Ironman, so he's actually now fully contracted. At the time, I was like, "Oh, why did I get asked?" However, he's more of an editor, and they needed more editing, more of an editor's role. So now when we go to shoot the video series, it's kind of our roles have reversed. He's become more of a boss of me, and he's doing all the production, a lot of the production and organising. Or in terms of what we're shooting. And it's almost like I'm happy to kind of impress him now, where it would have been the other way around.
Yeah.
And get feedback, and because he's doing the editing, he's like seeing my work more. He gives me more feedback. Yeah, I want to make sure he's like happy with my work and that kind of thing. So it's like pleasing that person, kind of similar to what you said, I guess, and making him proud of what I'm shooting, so he's got a better job for editing, that kind of thing. So yeah,
it's interesting. So one of my closest mentors, he's probably, how old is he? He's probably 11, 12 years older than me. To a lot of degrees, I give this guy, his name's Jared, the credit for like pushing me in the right direction when I was in college, in a very pivotal moment in time where I could either go down the complete wrong road and make a loser of myself, or like, you know, dig in and try to start something, one of my very first businesses. And he, over the years, has helped mold and shaped a lot of my thoughts in terms of just letting me bounce ideas off of him. And not too long ago, he like called me, and this is probably about a year ago, and he said, "You know, there's something fascinating I'm noticing with the most successful men in our world, at least in the world at scale in terms of business. It tends to be these guys who have some kind of estranged relationship or not a relationship with their dad." And I was like, "Oh, that's super fascinating," because Steve Jobs is very similar. Jeff Bezos has some stories. Elon Musk, like any of these really big guys, there's like this inner desire for us to like get up there and try to prove our name and our worth. So I think that's where that comes from. And it's a double-edged sword, because half of it's really good because you can go and do things that you would never have believed otherwise, or other people don't believe. But it can lead, if not checked with the right level of attitude, you can end up like blowing people out of, you know, the wake that you're creating. And so there's this like fine line of balance of how trying to figure out how to live a best life that is inspiring to others, but not like just destructive to some of the people that we surround ourselves with. But you seem like you're doing the right thing. Like I'm stoked for you. I'm a little bit jealous with the stuff that you're doing, if I'm being completely honest, but it's really neat to see how you've been able to expand that network and continue to grow in the not only the sport but just like the world of what it is to be a media producer.
Oh, thank you so much. It's not come overnight, put it that way. I think
Yeah,
people
for
do
sure.
think that.
Yeah.
Some people say, "Oh, you're so lucky to do this." I'm like, well, the old chestnut, you make your own luck is true. You know, you go out and build your networks, and like I say, spending my own time, effort, and money just going out and building that network.
Yeah.
And this is like I say, I started in 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Not in the capacity I was, I suppose sports, more this was like maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had not gone to Kona, people kept saying to me, actually, you got to go to Kona. Everyone's in Kona, every brand. Couldn't afford to go. And I blagged my way. I got a cheap ticket, economy ticket, managed to get some free accommodation with a guy called Hannes, who was at the time Sebi Kinley's manager. But he has a business called Hannes Hawaiian Tours. And he hosts like 400 athletes, sorts all the accommodation out. And I pinged him a message. "Oh, have you got any cancellations, spare accommodation?" He said, "Yeah, if you get me some photos of Sebi, I'll sort you a bed out." I ended up on a sofa with no bathroom. Like the bathrooms were taken in the bedrooms, But I went over there and I made contacts, and one of those contacts was Steve Godwin. And 3 years later, he remembered me and messaged me to do a series for Ironman, and it kind of went off from there. I could have had I not gone there, I would have never met Steve. So
Yeah.
thanks, mate.
Yeah. So just a couple more questions for you then.
Sure.
For somebody who wants to, and it doesn't even have to be an endurance sport world, but for somebody who wants to like break into some kind of an industry to do something maybe of a similar caliber, would you say that it's more important to go into the investment of time and energy in following your head more or your heart?
It's a good question. I'm not sure where this... Well, probably... I mean, your heart for the passion to keep you going, I think, but I use the head wisely. Invest in... Like, somebody asked me this. What did they ask me now? I don't think it was triathlon based, but... Oh no! I'll tell you what. It was one of the guys who shoots live feed for Ironman, and he was looking at getting more work in sports, and he is a freestyle, like he does tricks and stuff skiing. He like can bend on his skis and flip over, that kind of thing. He's super good skier, and I said, dude, like, firstly, not many people can ski and film at the same time, like a rig. That's a skill. So get into the snow sports, just get out there and just basically get into the sports and you start taking photos. What I did was start taking photos of athletes I didn't even know. And then you just DM them a few images. Sometimes they ignore you and sometimes they go, "Oh, thanks." But then they start to know who you are. And that was, that's what do you call it? A trick I used a lot
tactic,
was to
strategy.
just back in the day, just go in, take photos of athletes or whatever in your dedicated sport. Just ping them a few images. Say, "Hey, look, some images there. Feel free to, like, for your personal use. I'd be really happy if you tag me." And some people, everyone's looking for content these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially sports, athletes and anything around sport. What I say is what people tend to forget is the reason we have professional sport is to sell marketing, to sell brands. Well, if there wasn't, you'd be an amateur. There would be no sport, professional sport. It's purely a vehicle to sell advertising.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they pay Messi so much to wear probably Adidas or Nike boots or whatever he's wearing, or David Beckham to wear Adidas boots, and why is Canyon paying Sam Laidlow or Cube Lucid, because it's a vehicle to sell, you know, through a channel. It's the old influencer and all this. So I digress again. Apologies.
Yeah. No, you're good.
So people are looking for content. They want something, even if it's just say something about their brand, or so just go out, shoot the shit, I say. and people, some people, this is where some people get confused with giving away free photos. Oh, you're just giving photos away for free. You're ruining the industry or whatever. No. I'm essentially paying myself to go and shoot. It's my marketing budget.
Yeah, I was going to say marketing expense.
I'm not putting adverts in magazines. I'm not putting adverts in websites. I'm using my time, energy, and money, and that money is rental car. You know, I just rented the car to drive to Belgium to do a shoot after Frankfurt. To come 6 hours this way, it cost me like 800 euro. But it's worth it because I'm going over to shoot for a brand in Belgium and then shooting a brand down in Roth here, AG1. It's totally worth it. Otherwise, somebody else is shooting it and they're taking the money and making the relationship. And it's maintaining relationships as well. Like I say, it's not always about getting the quick hit and then taking the money and going. Deliver a quality product, maintain the relationship, and
let it grow.
Let it grow.
Yeah. So my last question for you.
Yeah.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I suppose my legacy would be. Why is this such a difficult question?
Because you probably don't know yet.
I guess I don't. Like I said at the beginning, I still think there's more to come. There's ideas up there. Do you know what always baffled me when people say they're bored? Oh, I'm bored. There's nothing to do. What do you mean? There's always something to do. Like I've got there's ideas up here. Like if I had time, they'd be on bits of paper. You know, they'd be in the planning. So who knows? The legacy is yet to come.
Yeah,
You have to revisit this chapter in another 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
See if it's changed.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that's the realest answer I think I've ever gotten, probably, because most people want to come up with something. But if you don't know and you can be honest about it, I think that's a good thing. I don't know what mine's going to be yet. I don't know if I'll truly ever write it down or care too much. But yeah, just being kind to people. I think that's the thing that you've shared the most of, you know, investing without necessarily looking for something to come back. Investing no matter what is probably the biggest thing.
Be kind, be nice. It's not always easy. And someone, like, especially if a brand or a business or whatever, someone's triggering you or not being easy to work with. As my girlfriend always says, kill them with kindness. Yeah, that's it really, I guess.
All right.
Can I ask you, what do you do outside of doing the podcast? What's your IT or something?
Yeah, so I do a little coaching to pay for the triathlon thing. I have the podcast, and then to actually make some money, I have a small consulting business where I have helped friends over the years just grow or help restructure their businesses. So for the past 3 years, I've been helping my buddy grow his real estate business from a team of, like, when I started helping him, it was like 2, and now he's got 7 people. And I just kind of check in daily and help everybody maintain and grow and put a process into place. And then before that, it was with my friend who got asked to be the president of this food company. They had like 50 employees, and we're doing anywhere from 10 to 15 million a year in wholesaling food, and helped come in and just restructure the whole business on the logistics side, the purchasing side, and then helping rehire the executive team. And my friend another friend ended up actually buying that business. So it's changed. In college, I started a small business called Sway, and we made fully insulated, like, camping hammocks, camping gear, and that took me to China. And prior to COVID, I was there 2 or 3 times a year setting up manufacturing and just burning investment money, really. And we ended up not ever making it, but I learned a ton, got to meet the Chinese, traveled the world, and it was a great experience and a launching point. And I'm super fortunate because the people who invested were my wife's family. They essentially let me burn like 60 grand of cash. And at the end, feeling super bad that I'd done it, they said, "Hey, you know what? Like, that was your education, and we're happy to help pay for education." So that was an extremely humbling, but the most vital experience I've ever had. So yeah, it's kind of what I do. It changes.
Kind parents-in-law.
Yeah.
It's very good though. I think one of our favorite things at home is a hammock.
Yeah. We had quite a few sales in the UK. Backpacking, like hammock camping was a huge thing in the UK. I had no idea until I started selling them. I was like, wow, we have so many of these going over to UK.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're a triathlete as well though.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's how I got into this. I don't really aim this podcast to be only about triathlon, but right now that's where the majority of my curiosity lies, just in the people and whatnot. But yeah, I started doing triathlon back in 2020, trained a bunch, didn't get to race because of COVID. And yeah, now I'm doing Ironman California and then Santa Cruz 70.3 and some other local races and stuff. So yeah, I do it to stay relevant, stay in sport, and it's fun.
The question is to you then is when you're coming over to Europe to race some proper athletes.
Yeah. That's a good question. I need to. I would love to come over there. I was actually talking to, do you know who Phil Guyman is?
Name rings a bell, but I can't place where.
He's an ex-professional world tour cyclist, but he has a huge YouTube called Worst Retirement Ever. Anyway, he was just over in France doing some of the KOMs that the Tour de France is going to go through, and we were talking last night about just how different the level is over in Europe, but also how cheap the food is, how healthy the food is, and how no one hates cyclists over in France. So maybe move over there.
Funny, we were just having this conversation with Kyle, one of your compatriots there, about terrible food.
Yeah, it's really bad, man.
It's just, some of it's okay. It's just really expensive when you find something good.
Well, quality costs a ton over here, but like even in New Zealand, when I went there for Worlds, man, it was like everywhere we went, even the small by the way gas station bakeries, the food quality is so good, and like 80% of it's farm to table. It's just like we need that.
So if you're gonna go big in Europe, I mean, you have to come down and do Ironman Lanzarote.
Yeah.
If I can do it 3 times, you can do it.
Okay. You have a floor I can sleep on?
Wait, come and stay in our apartment.
Yeah.
We have room for you.
Okay, good. I'll have to hit you up then.
Definitely.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we'll see. Just moved to Northern California not too long ago. My wife started a new adventure out here being a nurse practitioner. So I'm sure we'll save up some cash and hopefully get to go do some stuff like that again soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, James, thank you so much, man, for taking the opportunity to let me ask some questions about your life, get personal, and down in the dirt. I gain a lot of value and insight from these conversations, so thank you.
No, thank you. I really appreciate you asking me to come on and spend a bit of time with you. Nice to get to know you as well.
Right on. Hey, thank you so much, James, for coming on the podcast and letting me dive into the dirt with him and getting to know just what his life looks like and where he came from, what he does, and why he does it. If you made it to this point in the podcast, just want to say thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Check out the show notes in the description for any and all of the things, from the Stupid Question socks to the newsletter to any and all of the social accounts and stuff that James does. This, that, and the other. Check it all out. If you are listening on YouTube, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, that would mean a huge bit to me. Turn on the notification bell so you can be alerted when we drop new episodes every Monday and Thursday. And then also, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, any of those platforms, if you don't mind giving those a follow, leaving a comment, leaving a review, that helps to continue to grow it here as well. Thank you guys so much. Thanks again to Pro Tri News for setting up this spot for James to be able to record with me. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Peace.